Hare Krishna. जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सगणललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपीशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पंच कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम श्रीपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले स्मृति रघुनाथ श्रीपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले स्मृति वेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य कम करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिनं यत्र पातमहं वन्दे श्री गुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवम श्री चैतन्य यो। So welcome to the Chaitanya Pravaha series. We are discussing a wonderful part from the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. We are continuing our discussion on the 17th chapter of the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita entitled Lord Chaitanya Travels to Vrindavan. And this is the second part. We are continuing roughly from verse 100 onwards. What we have been discussing so far, just quick recap. Lord Chaitanya has been in Puri for some time. He has this desire to go to Vrindavan. He is hankering to go. He was requested to make his base in Puri. He has not yet traveled after sannyas to Vrindavan. And then he goes through some unsuccessful attempts to go to Vrindavan. And finally, when he gets permission and he actually makes the first travel attempt, he's followed by such a huge crowd that Sanatan Goswami advises him, "O great Lord, Vrindavan is for solitary travel and absorption. My suggestion to you is please don't go like this." The Lord also said, yes, what Sanatan has said is a very good idea. So anyway, the Lord comes back. And after some time, after he comes back to Puri, again, travels, he takes permission from Ramanand Rai, Sarup, uh, Damodar, and finally, the autumn season after the Chaturmas, Lord again embarks. This time, the Lord is very clear, no crowd. The Lord actually doesn't want to take anyone with him, but on the insistence of Sarup Damodar and Ramanand Rai, he agrees to take two assistants. One is Balabhadra Bhattacharya, a Brahmana, very peaceful Brahmana, whose main duty is to collect ingredients and cook for Lord Chaitanya along the way. And another one more assistant is the Brahmana who will be carrying the Lord's water pot and his clothes and things. So finally, that is what is settled, and the Lord, very early in the morning, he leaves before even anybody else has gotten up. He doesn't even let others know. that he is going, because he knows it is going to be a big emotional scene, spiritually emotional scene for all the close associates of the Lord. Quietly goes and he leaves Puri. Of course, in the morning, all the devotees who wake up and don't find the Lord where he is usually found according to his typical daily schedule, they are bewildered, and finally Swarup Damodar consoles all of them and makes them understand what has happened, and they have no choice but to accept that this is the transcendental of the Lord. We also discussed how the Lord this time doesn't go Katak like he went last time, but he rather, keeping Katak on his right, he goes to the Jharikand forest. And that was a significant portion of what we discussed, how the Lord passes through the Jharikand forest, and how through the influence of the Lord's love, the love for Krishna which the Lord exudes, how he influences all the living and non-living beings, the forest of Jharikand. And one of the most important episodes in this particular travel is how the Lord made apparently inimical animals like the tigers and the deer come together and dance in kirtan. Normally, when a deer and a tiger comes, the tiger wants to eat the deer, but here both of them are dancing in kirtan. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And they are embracing each other, kissing each other, and the Lord is laughing. Lord splashes elephants and maddens them into ecstasy. So like that, so many, whoever came along the way. In some places, there were some tribal villages the Lord would pass through, and Balabhadra Bhattacharya throughout, when he would go through the forest, he would pick up some fruits and roots and plants and spices along the way if he would find any, and he would keep in his bag so that he can cook later when needed. Or sometimes when they would go through small villages within the forest, then he would gather some ingredients like rice and ghee and then, cook along the way. And Lord Chaitanya was so happy. There are two kinds of devotees. Some devotees, they like to be very, uh, peaceful, not surrounded by crowds. They just like to peacefully do their bhajan. Some devotees always like to go out and be around and, as they say in Malaysia, action banyak, very action oriented. Lord Chaitanya is very, he was relishing the mood of just hardly anybody around. Chanting, being absorbed and doing this japa, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in that way, the Lord traveled. And finally, the Lord comes to the town of Kashi. Of course, this is a summary, not given all the details. We discussed this in the last class. This is a summary of the last class. And when he comes there, it's discussion of how when he is taking bath in the Ganges, Tapan Mishra, his very old acquaintance and his devotee, meets him, and then he requests him to come home. The Lord comes home. Then Chandrasekhar, who's a friend of Tapan Mishra, who's also a devotee of the Lord. Both of these devotees, they fall at the feet of the Lord, and they're so happy that they got the Lord's association, because both of them recognize the Lord as the Supreme Personality of God. And both of them circumstantially happen to be in Kashi. Of course, we may say circumstantially, but of course it was the Lord's arrangement. So the Lord had some pastimes to be performed in Kashi. Kashi is Varanasi. By the way, Kashi, for those of you who not know, of course, the Lord went there and visited the Kashi Vishwanath temple, which now Hindus are trying to reclaim back again. So Lord Chaitanya took darshan of Vishwanath ji, he took darshan of the Bindu Madhav temple, and then he came to the house of Tapan Mishra. The whole family worshipped the Lord. washed his feet, drank the water, all such a wonderful family of Tapan Mishra. And he requested the Lord, please stay here. You have come here. It's such a rare opportunity for us. Right? How many of us will get an opportunity that, the Supreme Lord will come and visit us in our residence? We say, oh Lord, don't just pass through, give us some days. So the Lord ends up staying almost 10 days in Varanasi. And they requested, oh Lord, please, you must eat your meals in my home only every day. Please don't accept invitation. Because so many Brahmanas, Lord Chaitanya, one of the features of Lord Chaitanya, he's so attractive. And we discussed this last time also, the nature of a pure devotee is so attractive. His devotional energy has such an influence on anybody who sees him. He would not only induce others to chant and influence them to develop attraction and love for Krishna, but they would be irresistibly attracted by him because he's the Supreme Lord. And they would also be stunned by his beauty. So many Brahmanas would approach Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they would come to him and say, please come and have a meal. But the Lord would tell them, no, I have a lunch invitation already. Tapan Mishra had forbidden him to go. Of course, there was another internal reason that Lord Chaitanya would not accept invitations. And it is because the Lord would see that practically everyone here are all Mayavadi sannyasis. The Lord was a bit reluctant. Why should I associate with impersonalist sannyasis who are offenders to the Lord? So he was generally avoiding that. Anyway, so in that time, in that way, the Lord was giving his association to Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhar Acharya. So, then something interesting happened. Now we are continuing our discussion. So in that stay of over around 10 days, there was one Maharashtrian Brahman from the state of Maharashtra, who would also come daily to the house of Tapan Mishra to take darshan of Lord Chaitanya. And this Brahmana would come every day because, like I just mentioned, he was so attracted simply by seeing the beauty of Lord Chaitanya. And he would come every day and, he would take the darshan of the Lord and, was so influenced by the Lord's love for the Lord. So that would happen. And of course, the Lord was, otherwise not going out anywhere and giving anybody his association. So there, at that time in Kashi, in Varanasi, there was a leader of all these Mayavadi sannyasis of Kashi. His name was Prakashananda Saraswati. Very, very learned, very, he was the leader of the Mayavadi sannyasis of Kashi. So you can imagine, Kashi is the capital of Mayavad. And there are so many Mayavadi sannyasis studying Vedanta there and impersonalism there. And amongst them, Prakashananda Saraswati was their leader. So he's, like the flag bearer of the impersonalist Mayavadi philosophy. So there was a Brahman who was very influenced by this wonderful behavior of Lord Chaitanya. He came to Prakashananda Saraswati. Because Prakashananda Saraswati had not yet met the Lord. He came to Prakashananda Saraswati and he started glorifying the characteristics of Lord Chaitanya to Prakashananda Saraswati, thinking that, Prakashananda Saraswati must know that, this great personality, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has come to Kashi. So he started, as if he had 100 mouths, started glorifying Lord Chaitanya. He says, there is a sannyasi who has come to Kashi from Jagannath Puri. Oh, he's so wonderful. I cannot fully describe his glories and his beauty. Everything about this personality is wonderful. He has a A full, well-built, tall body, over 7 feet tall. Uh, Bodily complexion like purified gold. He has arms, ajanulambita bhujau, kanakavadato. Arms which extend up to his knees. His eyes are like the petals of a lotus. In fact, his bodily features and his symptoms are exactly like that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whoever sees him immediately thinks of him as Lord Narayan himself. Whoever sees him by his influence starts chanting the names of Krishna. That is his influence. The Bhagavatam describes the symptoms of a Mahabhagavat, and all the symptoms of a first class devotee, a Mahabhagavat devotee, are clearly manifest in the personality of this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this great sannyasi. Always chanting the holy names of Krishna on his tongues. Huh? And his eyes are constantly flowing with tears of love of Krishna. Sometimes dancing, sometimes singing, sometimes he's absorbed in intense bhav. Oh, Prakashanand Saraswati, the sannyasi, his name is Krishna Chaitanya. Everything about him is wonderful. His name, his form, his qualities, out of the world, unparalleled. Nobody can match him. So he was just glorifying and glorifying. Simply by seeing him, one understands that this personality possesses all the characteristics of the Supreme Lord. No one displays these kind of characteristics. It's like he is the Lord himself. Who will believe even if I tell them that he is the Lord? But he's showing all the characteristics of the Supreme Lord. So as this Brahmana was describing these qualities of Lord Chaitanya and glorifying him like that, Prakashanand Saraswati was listening to all this. He started laughing. You know, and he was joking and laughing at the Brahmana. As if, kya bol rahe ho, no? What are you talking? Huh? Yeah, I have heard about this person that you are telling. He's a sannyasi from Bengal. He's just a sentimental person. Why are you so excited about him? I have heard he belongs to the Bharati Sampradaya. He has taken sannyas from Keshav Bharati Maharaj. But you are wrongly glorifying him. He's just a pretender. He's just a sentimental person. I know his name also. I know his name is Chaitanya. Interesting, eh? He doesn't say Krishna Chaitanya, he just says Chaitanya. I know his name is Chaitanya. I know that he is usually accompanied by many sentimental persons. His followers, huh, very, not very impressive, simply sentimentally chanting, dancing, following. He goes and travels here and there. People see him, they accept him as God. Maybe he just has some mystic power by which, he's uh, hypnotizes people. Huh? And being illusioned by his hypnotism, people think that he's the Supreme Lord. I've heard even the Sarvam Bhattacharya, who was such a great scholar from Jagannath Puri, he also has become a madman by being illusioned by this sentimental sannyasi. Yes, Chaitanya is a sannyasi name only because sannyasi is supposed to study Vedanta Sutra. What is this sentimental chanting and dancing? This is the job of upstarts in spiritual life. Those are unqualified, sentimental people, they do all this chanting and dancing. That was the kind of understanding Prakashanand Saraswati. So, this kind of sentimentalism has no demand in Kashi. Kashi is not impressed by all this. Kashi is the place for Vedantic philosophical discussion on the absolute truth. You also don't go and waste your time with this Chaitanya. Just continue studying the Vedanta. If you associate with this kind of upstart sentimentalist, you will also lose all your spiritual advancement. You will not achieve anything spiritually either in this life or the next. Brahmana, we heard this assessment by Prakashananda Saraswati was shocked. Not only was he shocked, but he became grief-stricken. Because he was practically offending the Lord, and the Brahmana so much respected and appreciated the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he was so pained to see and shocked to see that he considered such an advanced person in spiritual understanding, Prakashanand Saraswati, was so deluded that he would offend Lord Chaitanya like this, as if Lord Chaitanya is some ordinary upstart. So he became very disturbed. He didn't want to hear any more criticism, so he just started chanting Krishna, Krishna, purify himself, and he just left that place. He left. He didn't spend any more time with Prakashanand Saraswati. So after that, his mind was so disturbed. Immediately, this Brahmana went Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and told him, "Oh, Mahaprabhu, my mind is very disturbed. This is what happened. I went to this sannyasi, Prakashananda Saraswati, and I explained to him like this, and this is how he reacted. Oh my God, how could he have spoken like this?" And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard all that. And as any devotee, of course, Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but as any great Vaishnava would react when somebody criticizes them, they're not disturbed. Chaitanya simply smiled. He didn't say anything. He didn't counter criticize him. Then the Brahmana asked him one question. Oh Lord, there's one thing I noticed about this Prakashanand Saraswati. I want to ask your opinion on this point. As soon as I mentioned your name, I said you are initiated by Keshav Bharati and your name is Sri Krishna Chaitanya. He said he knew you and he knew your name. But when he uttered your name throughout the whole conversation, across the whole conversation, whenever he would refer to you, especially criticizing you with all these harsh words, he uttered your name 3 times, but each time only said Chaitanya. He did not say Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And he said Chaitanya, and he said it with contempt. I was very disturbed. So why this Prakashananda Saraswati could only say the name Chaitanya? Because Chaitanya only means consciousness. But he could not say Krishna Chaitanya. He did not utter the name of Krishna even once through the whole conversation. So, but as far as I am concerned, Lord, simply when I see you, I irresistibly from my mouth comes the name of Krishna, Govinda, Hari. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled and he said, Dear Brahmana, those who are Mayavadi impersonalists. Now again, just to explain for the understanding of all of us, who is a Mayavadi impersonalist? A Mayavadi impersonalist is he thinks that God is ultimately impersonal. And all forms of God like Rama, Krishna, Vaman, Narsimha are temporary forms which are taken by the impersonal Brahman. And these forms do not have any eternal existence. In fact, the forms are made of material energy, temporarily manifested, and then dissolved. There is no eternal truth or transcendental nature to the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. In fact, there is nothing like the Supreme Lord. I and the Supreme Lord are one. There is only one truth. There is no separate God. I am God, you are God, we all are God. I'm just summarizing the Mayavadi philosophy. The details of Mayavadi philosophy we'll discuss soon because Lord Chaitanya in the upcoming chapters, Lord Chaitanya will have an extensive discussion on this topic with Prakashanand Saraswati. But this is just for your quick reference. So those who are Mayavadi impersonalists, Lord Chaitanya is explaining to this Brahmana, they are great offenders to Lord Krishna because They deny the form of Krishna. They deny that Krishna exists. They deny the body or transcendental body of Krishna. They consider all this as Maya. Therefore, they only utter words such as Brahman, Atma, Chaitanya. Because they are offenders unto Krishna, who is the Supreme Lord. And because Krishna is non-different from his holy name, the names like Krishna, Rama, etc. not manifest in their mouths. The name, form, qualities, the Supreme Lord are not different from each other. In fact, within the name of the Lord, his form and qualities are present. When somebody chants the name of Krishna, the Lord is on his tongue. And this is especially true for the Lord, not for the living entity. For all living entities, the name and the person are different. For the Supreme Lord, his name and he are absolutely non-different. नाम चिंतामणि कृष्ण चैतन्य रास विग्रह पूर्ण शुद्ध नित्य मुक्त अभिन्नत्वम नाम नामिनो. अभिन्नत्वम नाम नामिनो. No difference between the name and the named. Krishna's name is like a wish fulfilling tree. Nama Chintamani. And that name is full of transcendental nectar of rasa. Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Purna Shuddha Nitya Mukta. It is eternally free from Maya. Shuddha, fully pure, not like what the Mayavadis say. Krishna's name, form, qualities are not products of the three modes. They belong to the transcendental realm. So these people are bewildered. How the name of Krishna, because Krishna is non-different from his name, how Krishna will appear on their tongue? Why Krishna will appear on the tongue of offenders? These people have no appreciation or understanding of the spiritual nature of Krishna's name. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes another verse. अथ श्री कृष्ण नामादि न भवेद ग्राह्यम इंद्रियैहि सेवोन्मुखे हि जिह्वादौ स्वयं एव स्फुरत्यदः. That Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes cannot be perceived and understood by the material senses and the material mind. Na bhaved grahyam indriyahi. But when one becomes a devotee and starts serving the Lord, the real nature of the real spiritual nature of the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord becomes realized by the blessings of the Lord independently. Name and qualities of the Lord are non-different. Name and the form of the Lord are non-different. That is why simply by chanting the names of Krishna purely, one can directly associate with Krishna. How can the Mayavadi sannyasis or offenders appreciate all these deeper spiritual truths, which are revealed only to a heart which is devoted to the Lord? The material mind and senses can never appreciate. Only by serving the Lord, beginning by chanting the name of the Lord and by tasting the prasad which has been honored by the Lord, accepted by the Lord, the tongue is purified and gradually one can appreciate the transcendental nature of the Lord. Athas Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahyam indriyahi sevon mukhe jivvadau swayam eva suratyadaha. Krishna's name, form, qualities, etc. cannot be understood materially, but only by service beginning with the tongue. How do we serve Krishna with the tongue? By chanting and by accepting prasad. Swayam eva suratyadaha. And that is our formula. We are not trying to understand the transcendental nature of Krishna just by intellectual understanding. We cannot. The appreciation and the realization of the transcendental nature is possible only by the grace of the Lord when the Lord reveals. So that way Lord Chaitanya starts In response to the criticism, he starts giving a class on the holy name to this Brahmana. By explaining what is the glory, why they cannot utter, because this name is not ordinary. This name is spiritual, not different, and it is full of transcendental rasa. It is nectar. When the pure name dances on the tongue of the devotee who's chanting the name purely, pure transcendental rasa is experienced in the devotee. Experiences transcendental pleasure, which is so much higher pleasure than what the jnani and the impersonalist experiences in Brahman realization. He also becomes conquered. And then he starts quoting verses from the scriptures where he says that Vyasdev, who had a son called Shukadev Goswami, he was absorbed in Brahman happiness, but when he got a chance, taste the transcendental nectar of the quality and pastimes of the Supreme Lord from his father Vyasdev in the form of Srimad Bhagavad, even though he was situated in perfect Brahman realization, which is the goal of the Mayavadis, became irresistibly attracted towards Krishna. So obviously, the Mayavadis are not understanding that Krishna's name, form, and qualities are of a higher nature than Brahman. They are chasing Brahman, but those who have attained Brahman are chasing after Krishna. Bhagavatam is the proof of this. Then he quotes another verse from the Srimad Bhagavat, which is Atma Ramascha Manayo Nirgrantha Api Urukrume Kurvanti Aitukim Bhaktim Ithambuto Gunohari. This is the famous Atma Rama verse. That even self-realized souls, they become irresistibly attracted by devotional service to the Lord and the transcendental qualities. What to speak? The now Lord Chaitanya is continuing. What to speak about attraction to the transcendental qualities of the Lord? The Lord is so attractive and so potent that even the breeze which carries the aroma of the tulasi leaves which are offered to his lotus feet accidentally enters the nostril of a purified soul, his heart will be irresistibly attracted to the lotus feet of the Lord. Just this indirect connection. Correct? Just like, sometimes when we are just passing by a restaurant, and some smell from the restaurant of one of our favorite dish comes, aroma. Ah, ha, 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 ha. I feel that I want to go there. I want to change my plan and go and. So the aroma comes from the transcendental lotus feet of the Lord because of the tulsi which is on the lotus feet of the Lord. And then he gives the example of the four Kumaras, who, even though they were Brahman realized, they went to Vaikuntha, how their hearts became transformed. Because when Lord Hari came out, they had first this argument with Jay and Vijay, right? The four Kumaras. And when they are being cursed, Lord Hari in Vaikuntha realized, Hari Baba, problem is happening at my doorstep. The Lord, being a very loving master, he himself comes out walking to manage the situation and see what has happened. And the Kumaras are stunned by seeing his transcendental beauty. But noteworthy is the breeze which is carrying the fragrance of the tulsi enters the nostril of the Kumaras. And that itself attracts them to devotional service of the Lord. They feel a greater pleasure in simply that spiritual aroma which is greater than the joy of Brahman realization. So these are all proofs from the scripture. This is not some sentimental thing that we are speaking about. This actually happened. There are shastrical references. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving all this evidence. And he repeats again to this Brahmana, the Mayavadis, because they are great offenders and they refuse to accept the spiritual form of the Lord. They say there is no person like Krishna. It's just a temporary, illusory identity which is created. The impersonal takes a personal form temporarily. That's why the name of Krishna doesn't come from their mouth. So after philosophically explaining this, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu becomes a bit emotional. And in a kind of a lamentation way, in a sad way, starts telling the Brahmana. So Brahmana, I came to Kashi. I am headed for Vrindavan, but I came to Kashi. Why? Huh? I came to Kashi to sell the product of this ras of Krishna, this transcendental ras of devotional service, this kind of ecstatic experience that I'm having by connecting to Krishna by chanting. He says, I want to give this product to everyone. I was hoping that in the city of Kashi, I will find many customers. So the Lord is, kind of uh, taking the role of a salesperson of the product of the holy name. He's saying, I'm looking around. I thought I'll find so many customers. This is such a spiritual city, but everybody here is an impersonalist. Very difficult. I cannot find any customers in Kashi. And if I'm not able to sell my products here in Kashi, then like a salesperson who cannot sell his products, I have to carry this heavy load of these products and go back. I brought so much load of this transcendental nectar to distribute in this city. But now I have to take it back. So much effort because nobody is here willing to take. But I have decided I want to distribute here this product. Even if somebody is willing to pay me even a fraction of the price, I will sell this holy name here in the city of Kashi. Lord Chaitanya says, so he's so eager to give this nectar. That's the whole purpose of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, isn't it? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to this world to give the highest to the lowest. When you want to give the highest to the lowest, you have to give super discount. 99.99% discount. Correct? Right? If somebody wants to sell to us a Bugatti or a Ferrari car, for example, and somebody comes to me and says, Prabhu, 70% discount on Bugatti. A Bugatti costs in crores. Am I going to be excited by hearing 70% discount? I will say, no, Prabhu, it will take me 7 generations to buy at 70% discount. Somebody says 50% discount, Prabhu, let us buy Bugatti. Too expensive. 30% cannot buy. 10%. But if somebody says 99.99%, then maybe there may be some excitement. Then something which is so expensive has been made available at a throwaway price. Throwaway price. So Lord Chaitanya is like that. He's giving the highest. Once in a day of Brahma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because it is so difficult to find customers who are willing to pay that price for this product. Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, everyone wants. But Bhakti, very difficult. Not because Bhakti is not good, because the living entities are unable to appreciate the value of Bhakti, even though it is the highest. Because they are so used to selfish motivation, they forget to realize that the greatest selfishness lies in selfless love to the Supreme Lord. They think that they'll be happy by being selfish. I want Siddhi, I want Mukti. I. But when one gives up I and serves the Supreme Lord selflessly, the greatest selfishness is achieved because the self experiences the greatest ecstasy. But this product is very hard to convince people. So Lord says in Kashi, I will give a very high discount. And then the Lord was so pleased. He said like this, and the Lord was so pleased by seeing how this Brahmana was so attracted to him and so attracted to devotional service, and he was so disturbed when the Lord was criticized. So, this is also one of the qualities of a devotee. A devotee cannot tolerate the Lord or his devotees' criticism. So, when the Lord saw this very sincere, loving devotion of this Brahmana, the Lord accepted this Brahmana as his own devotee and gave him his blessings. So, anyway, immediately the Lord didn't do or say anything. So, in this trip in Kashi, because the Lord actually goes and comes back to Kashi. So, I'm just giving you a quick peep into what is going to happen in the future chapter. So, right now, he doesn't deal with this situation. So, he says, okay, fine. And he gives this answer. He consoles the Brahmana. The Brahmana is, kind of pacified that, Lord is not upset with him. In fact, he accepted me as his devotee. So, next day, the Lord, because 10 days are over already, Lord Chaitanya decides, okay, Kashi trip, enough. Now, I need to continue my journey towards Vrindavan. So it is said next day morning, the Lord rose up early morning and continued go towards Vrindavan. And his immediate next destination was the transcendental town of Mathura, Mathura Dham. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, along with Balabhadra Bhattacharya and the other Brahmana assistant, they were walking. As they were walking, these three were the three: Tapan Mishra, Chandrasekhar Acharya, and this Brahman. They had become so attached. 10 days, can you imagine 10 days of association with the Supreme Lord? Every day the Lord is there, eating in your house, giving association. What kind of transcendental attachment? They started following the Lord. They said, we are coming with you. Where you go, we are coming, we are done. House behind, everything behind. So this is the attractive nature. Sometimes we wonder, I'm so attached to the world. How will I give up my attachment? This is how we give up our attachment. How? When we become attracted to Krishna, the attachment to this world seems insignificant. So, if we want true detachment from the material world, detachment to the material world is possible when we become attached to Krishna. Of course, we may not be so fortunate that personally Lord Chaitanya or Lord Krishna will come to our home, stay for 10 days. But the same benefit or same kind of attraction we can get by regularly associating with the Lord, by chanting with his holy names, by eating Krishna Prasad, by serving the Lord in his deity form, because the deity form is also not different from the Lord, and serving him in various ways. The more our attraction to Krishna increases, the more detached naturally we will become from all material attachments. So they started following the Lord, these three. Then the Lord turned back, no, 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 no. You can't come with me. And then the Lord convinced them. Even though they were very sad, the Lord said, not follow me. Please go back. They're feeling great separation from them. And the Lord told them, huh, I'll come and meet you again. It's not mentioned here. The Lord told them that I'll come and meet you again. Don't worry. And in that way, the Lord sent them back. For now, you go back. I have other plans. I need you to continue to be here. Huh? I don't want you to follow me. I have some sevas for you. You go back. And then finally, they returned. And it is said, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that from that day onward, these three devotees would associate so closely together with each other, feeling great separation from the Lord. This is what devotees do when they feel separation from the Lord. Come together and discuss the glories of the Lord in the Sangha of each other. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti Ritkarna rasayana katha tajju shanarya pavarga vartmani shraddharati bhaktiranu. This is how devotees get tremendous satisfaction and transcendental pleasure when they discuss Krishna the association of other like-minded devotees who also have that kind of a transcendental taste. So in that way, they spend time and experience ecstatic love. So the Lord on his way to Mathura, it is said he took a brief pause at Prayag, Sangam, Allahabad, Prayag, where Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati meet. Of course, Saraswati is invisible, but Ganga and Yamuna meet. Sangam, the Lord was so happy to be there. He took darshan of the Veni Madhav temple there, and he was dancing in ecstatic love. He bathed at the Sangam, Prayag Sangam. Kumbh Mela is especially the time when Prayag Sangam is crowded with the devotees from all over India. He said Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he saw Yamuna there, because this was the first time he saw Yamuna, right? All this while when he was in Navdeep and other places, he would see Ganges, Ganga Devi. Now he finally saw Yamuna because Yamuna and Ganga converge here. It was so ecstatic. It is said he jumped into the Yamuna. Lord Chaitanya, when he would see Yamuna, or even sometimes not even see Yamuna, see a river and think it is Yamuna, see a mountain, think it is Govardhan, the Lord would get into such a mood, he would, in the mood of Braj, that he would practically forget his surroundings and what is what, and his devotees and associates would need to control him. So when he jumped into the Yamuna, Balabhadra Bhattacharya ran behind him hastily and he caught Lord Chaitanya just to make sure, he doesn't drown or hurt himself in any way. So anyway, the Lord then stayed there at Prayag for 3 days, not a very long trip there. And he stayed there, and all the pilgrims who would come to Prayag, he would deliver them by giving them the holy name of Krishna. So how does Lord Chaitanya give Krishna Prem? He gives Krishna Prem by giving them the name of Krishna. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it is said, or Lord Chaitanya did one great Acharya, I think it is Prabodhanand Saraswati, if I'm not wrong. I may be wrong, but if I remember correctly, he said Lord Chaitanya took the holy names. They can compare to beads, holy names. He took those beads and of the holy names, and he dipped them the transcendental nectar of Krishna Prem. And the holy name absorbed that Krishna Prem. And he would give that to others. So what happens when you receive that name from Lord Chaitanya or coming from his parampara? You get that name which is soaked in Braj Prem. Have any of you taken a Rasgulla in your hand? When attempted, taken Rasgulla. So when you take a Rasgulla in your hand, you know what is the most difficult thing when you take Rasgulla in your hand? Anyone?
Yeah, we cannot stop eating, Prabhu.
No, before that, before it reaches your mouth, what is the difficulty when you pick up a Rasgulla? The Rasgulla, I'm talking about first class Rasgullas. Don't necessarily compare it with what Malaysian sweet shops sell. First class Bengali Rasgulla, so much soaked in sugar syrup. To pick it up also, it will be dripping sugar syrup. And the difficult thing is you need to hold it tight enough. But when you try to hold it tight, little bit also it gets pressed. The sugar syrup gets squeezed and start dripping out. You put in your mouth, even before you can chew it, sugar syrup will squeeze out everywhere because it's soaked in sugar syrup. You understand? Correct? I don't know whether you had experience, but if you have eaten really good quality Rasgulla, Ankan Prabhu is saying you can try hot Rasgulla. Then it becomes, like that. Full of nectar. Little bit you squeeze. So if you squeeze the holy name by chanting it on the beads as received from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And that nectar which Lord Chaitanya has invested, Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Ras is filled in. You can extract the ras by chanting the holy name. So Lord Chaitanya would give prem like that. So once he gives you, now it is up to the individual how much, based on their sincerity, whether they extract the juice out or not. So now the holy name is given to us. Now we cannot blame, we cannot say, it's given, but we have to taste it. Rasgulla has been given. We have to taste the nectar which is absorbed in the Rasgulla. So the Lord in this way would give the holy name to many, many people. And he said, many, many people he converted who become devotees of the Lord. As he was traveling from Prayag towards Mathura, because the river Yamuna comes from Mathura and goes towards Prayag, right? So as he was traveling towards Mathura, many times he would have to cross the river or he would come across the river. And whenever he would come across the river, Yamuna, he would immediately jump into it. Again, he would fall unconscious in ecstasy. And every time Balabhadra Bhattacharya would have to jump in and get hold of him and save him. Finally, after much walking, Lord Chaitanya came near the city of Mathura. He could see the city of Mathura from a distance. As soon as he saw the city of Mathura, can you imagine? Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself is coming to Mathuras and Vrindavan, and he just was in such ecstasy, he fell to the ground and offered his obeisances with great love. So I want to stop here today because Lord Chaitanya is just about to enter Mathura. I don't want to go further. It's just 5 more minutes left. So we will continue the discussion of the Lord entering Mathura and then going to Vrindavan and what all the Lord did in Mathura and Vrindavan in our next class. But finally, at least we have come to the point of the Lord coming and reaching the borders of Brajamandal. Jai. Okay, so I'll stop here and we will take questions. Before Suresh, you ask a question, I'm going to be a bit busy over the next weekend. So coming Saturday and the Tuesday after that, those 2 classes we will not have. I'm letting you know upfront. So Saturday this week and the Tuesday, which means the next CC class also we will have to skip. We will resume the classes the following weekend. Most likely, instead of Saturday, we'll have the class on a Sunday. Not for this weekend, but the next weekend. I'll post this in the group also. But since you are all here, I'm letting you. Okay. Yes, Suresh Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhuji, one small doubt, Prabhuji. Lord Chaitanya has his own abode, eternal abode.
Yes, Lord Chaitanya, every form of the Supreme Lord. So in the spiritual world, there is Navadvip Dham also, and there is Vrindavan also.
Okay. Yeah.
So Lord Chaitanya eternally there with his associates. So Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivas. So especially for us who are followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have the opportunity when we become perfected to enter both Gaur Lila and Krishna Lila.
Yeah.
Okay, so not only will we have a form in Krishna Lila as whatever, as a gopi, as a manjari, as a cow, as a friend, or whatever our eternal spiritual nature is, but we also have an opportunity to have an eternal transcendental form within Gaur Lila. So Krishna Lila is about being with Krishna directly. And Gaur Lila is about eternally relishing the Kirtana Rasa, the association of devotees, with Krishna in the form of a devotee. So that is another Leela. Yes, both places are there.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, any other question, comment? Okay, so thank you all very much for joining and patiently listening. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki Jai. So we have, just for those who are keeping track and reading along, we have completed up to verse 155. So only around 55 verses we did today. Typically I do 100, but again I don't want to rush too fast. Even without going into too much detail, it took us this long. Of course, I spent 10 odd minutes in the previous wrap up, but I think that is essential. Otherwise, sometimes that continuity may not come. I hope you are benefited by the summarization of the previous classes also. Think it is, taking too much time, you can let me know. I can cut down on that as well. Okay, thank you very much, and have a pleasant evening. And I will see you all on in roughly 2 weeks' time, almost close to 2 weeks' time. Okay, I'll keep you updated on the group. So stay tuned and continue to relish the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If you simply have faith in what we discussed today, and with faith, chant these holy names, undoubtedly in due course, we will experience all that is being described here. That faith we must have. If we chant without faith, we will not be able to relish. Without faith and without service attitude, one cannot make progress in Nama Sadhana. But when we are in the association of devotees, hearing and chanting, then it will become very tasty. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Gaurava.
Hare
Jai.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you all very much.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Deepavali
Prabhuji.
Mataji, Anand Sundari Mataji, Rita ji, thank you. Suraj, Sridevi Mataji,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hari Bol, Charan Lakshmi Mataji,
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol, Amit, Priya, Sini ji, and Archana ji, Lila Mataji. Thank you all very much. I hope everyone is well. And Hare Krishna. Everyone is well, and I will see you all soon. Yes, Shalini ji, yes, nice to see you also. Hare Krishna. Okay.